From the very beginning, there was a dream for a trust layer for the digital future. But in 2012, the technology to achieve such a vision simply did not exist.
It really should be possible for anyone to just kind of wave their hand and carve out a piece of cyberspace and create a world of their own.
3 years later, in 2015, the hash graph consensus algorithm was born. In the same year, Mance and Lehman founded Swirlds to bring Hashgraph to life. In August 2018, the Hedera mainnet goes live, minting 50 billion H-bars.
We are about to launch the Hedera mainnet and mint 50 billion H-bars. There will never be another H-bar. This is it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right.
That's it. Congratulations.
Yep. Mainnet is live.
In 2019, we announced the Hedera Council to help govern the network, ensuring stability, decentralization, and responsible decision-making globally. On February 13, 2020, Hedera Consensus Service launches on mainnet, marking a new era. 1 year later, Hedera Token Service enabled native tokenization on the Hedera network. With billions of real-world transactions, Hedera has begun to cement itself as a leader in enterprise blockchain. To continue its impact in the digital economy, Hedera creates Stablecoin Studio, an open-source toolkit helping organizations integrate stable digital currencies seamlessly. Through another toolkit, Asset Tokenization Studio is helping making asset tokenization seamless, scalable, and secure. Hedera has taken a bold step forward by contributing its codebase to the Linux Foundation's Decentralized Trust Initiative and introducing the Hedera Foundation and Hedera Council, realigning our ecosystem to unlock greater clarity, leadership, and purpose. Looking ahead, Hedera continues to lead with tokenization, digital economies, and beyond. What future will you build?
What's going on, everybody? Super excited to be here with you all. Talking Hedera, talking about what's happening in this ecosystem. We have so many huge players on the stage today. I want to make sure that I'll let y'all know a little bit about each one of these guys. But the goal of today, this is Devro, man. Like, this is where things actually get done. This is where things get built. This is why people are able to use all of these different technologies, because we have incredible people like the ones that I'm going to introduce you to building things, making things happen so that we actually have a good platform to build upon and actually enjoy. So without further ado, let me just go through all these guys. We have an incredible lineup for today. I will be your host. My name is Action, and I'm just some random guy who's been in crypto for over a decade and likes to talk to really cool people in the space. So, but I do have an amazing co-host hanging out with me today. Ed, let me bring you up. Give everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hey, Action, and hello, everybody. Super happy to be here as well, talking about Devro, talking about Hedera and everything that is happening in this awesome ecosystem. So I lead developer relations for Hedera at Hashgraph. And like you said, Action, Devro is where it's at. That's, how we make it happen. So the way we do that is by attracting, engaging, and retaining developers. So making sure that, they're able to find the Hedera ecosystem, able to get onboarded and educated on how things work, and then making sure that those frictions are as low as they can be for those people looking to build awesome applications on the ecosystem. And so I've been part of the Hedera network since 2021 formally. And then over that time, I've had the incredible opportunity to network and connect with really solid projects and individuals. And so I'm very happy to be sharing the stage with a few of those folks today.
And let's bring some of those folks on. David, your camera is off. I'm not sure if you're still there. There you are. Let me bring you up. All right. Give everybody a little taste of who you are and what you do.
David Neary is calling in from Australia. So it's very early here. A bit of background on us. I'm the CEO at FSCO. I'm also the CEO at Just Finance. So Just Finance, which we'll hear a little bit more about, is a partnership with FSCO that we started out in supply chain, embedded payments, conditional payments, and started working more from mid-market to enterprise to now banking. I think what we do is foundationally express, which is a lot of what is happening on Ledger, expressing what the underlying value for one party exchanging with another. Right now, you can apply that to banking, payments, etc. But that's where we excel. So we've always played more in the traditional financial space. But what we'll talk about this evening, this morning, wherever you are, right, is our specific application in regulated stable applications for banking. I know there's a lot of hype. There's been an explosion in terms of stables. So we're focusing on regulated applications, starting in the Philippines. In our partnership, Just Finance.
I love to hear that. It's so incredible to see so many people doing so many different things in the space. Alejandro, let me go over to you, sir.
Perfect. So thank you, Action, for having me, and hello, everyone. My name is Alejandro. I am head of R&D at ioBuilders. So ioBuilders is a technology firm specialized in DLT and the application of DLT for digital assets. We have been, we were born on 2018, and since then we have been working with essentially tokenization of different taxonomies of tokenized financial instruments mostly. So we also work, we're very focused on the regulated space, as David was also mentioning on his case. And in particular, on the Hedera ecosystem, we have been involved on several of the flagship projects of the whole ecosystem, like the Asset Tokenization Studio. We are the main developers there, the Stablecoin Studio 2, and also for you to have a quick example of the kind of project that we do beyond these two. We are the main tech provider of the Open Brick, which is also basically a multi-trading facility deployed also on Hedera. So those kinds of use cases is basically where we focus on. We are a professional services company that help other companies to build their DLT solutions, right, and go their DLT journey.
I love it. Love to hear that. Manu, Mr. Glow here. For y'all that might not be aware of, this guy just got married, so he's got a new pep in his step.
Thanks a lot, Action. Thanks for the introduction, and yeah, it's been a nice honeymoon. Now back to business. So, well, I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of Cavalan. We started Cavalan in 2022 after the last bull run and the whole NFT craze. Thinking that NFTs could be more than just nice or expensive JPEGs. So we saw that there was a big problem with funding for founders and creators of any kind of trade that had communities. So what we do at Kabila is basically offer everything to create, launch, and manage tokenized communities in a way that you can your community can support you to fund your project, and at the same time you can offer them some extra benefits or utility into whatever you're doing. It can be content, it can be a service, it can be a product. So that's what we do. We help creators of communities regain ownership of their communities through NFTs and fund whatever idea or project they have. And we're the leading NFT hub on Hedera, and we also help some other companies like Hashgraph into their tech. For example, we've been working with the developer playground and the contract builder. I think Ed will be sharing a bit more in a few minutes.
I love it. So as y'all can see, these are the real people actually making things happen on Hedera. So yeah, I mean, today's live is going to be incredible with Alejandro, David, and everyone in between. Just want to say welcome, guys. It's been phenomenal being able to actually host these and have such an amazing lineup. All of you guys are a part of this incredible Hedera ecosystem, and I want to make sure that we do share some of the latest updates from Hedera Asset Tokenization Studio, which has been making life a lot easier for a lot of people, to a new Philippines bank backed stablecoin on Hedera. Like, there's a lot of different tools out there, monetization tools for creators, just a lot of excitement around what people can actually get done inside of this amazing ecosystem. But let's kick it off with you, David, just because I know it is late for you, early. you basically showed up in the middle of the night for us. So thank you. That doesn't go without saying that we do appreciate you coming out here. Let's talk about what's going on with PHPX, which is this Philippines-backed stablecoin that you guys have on Hedera here. Let me just ask why. Because this is not, by the way, guys, this is what I love to do is not actually follow the script, just ask the why behind things, because this is what people really want to know about. It's the important thing. Why would you go out of your way to create something like this? Why does it matter?
Well, there was a gap. I think anyone, the thing about stablecoins, in and of it, any fool can issue a stable coin. It's really just a promise, right? That there's collateral, that there's a treasury bill, that there's a fiat, that something is behind, something real is sitting behind the representation of the instrument on chain, right? So there was a gap in terms of regulated stablecoin applications. I mean, Tether's been exceptionally successful, Circle's been successful. The majority of trade is not happening through DeFi. The majority of trade, whether it's cross-border payments, whether it's remittance, there's a huge amount of value in terms of trillions of dollars in the traditional financial sector. Now, there would be question marks. Is it going to be CBDCs? Is it going to be stable coins? How and what will you be issuing, right? And it was private companies that were focusing on primarily a retail user that was a crypto enthusiast. And we believe that is 1% of the market, maybe less, right? So in terms of regulated applications, that as a market in and of itself, the Philippines needed a regulated bank grade solution to achieve lots of different things, right? So I know there's again a huge rush of it's all about remittances, and that's one angle. There's this term, I don't know that I'm crazy about it, but the stable coin being a thing, but stable coin is a primitive, right? So it's a foundational building block that is a representation of the backing. Again, T-bill or cash, etc. So there wasn't really, there was not a solution for the regulated banking sector. What do I mean by regulated? Regulated meaning, no, I didn't just wake up one day, hit up my investors and say, hey, do you want to just go get a bunch of treasuries and then we'll issue money and we'll keep everything for ourselves, right? From a traditional financial institution where value was being exchanged between multiple regulated parties, right? So I go to my bank when I want to pick up typically real amounts of money, not sending $500 via USDC, right? Kind of like, I think, again, a lot of the time, stable coins looking backwards were treated more like a Cash App, like a Venmo, for smaller payments, right? And that's fine. That still exists, and everyone talks about that when it comes to remittance and cross-border applications. But do you know, if I'm a bank, I have risk, I have compliance, right? I run a treasury, right? I'm taking other people's money inbound, right? I'm holding it. I have to have capital adequacy ratios. I have to lend it out, and I have to perform a variety of different functions, right? So there wasn't something that was consistently, number one, held to a really high standard. So live attestation is to the backing. Love Circle, loved, again, more power to everyone who's broken ground in this space, right? But one of the key differentiators was the backing and the quality, right? So real-time backing, instead of saying monthly, I promise you, this is what I have sitting somewhere, right? So what were regulated financial institutions, meaning they're beholden to a central bank, and that central bank is typically beholden to the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, right? So there wasn't something in market that really addressed the requirements on the regulated side, right? So that's why we looked at that was the why that inspired us to create the instrument that is here's the take home. It's only issued by banks, right? It's it's already compliant for 2026 kind of crypto asset a regulation from the Bank for International Settlements, right? So we have a network in the Philippines, and we have a network of banks and banking, right? So whether it's a range of banks, so whether it's commercial banks, wallet holders, digital banks, we have a network there. And what they needed was consistency. So there was a lot of banks that launched a stable coin, and it was a one-trick pony. It was just for them, and no one ever used it. So number one,
Oh, you're bringing up a great point that I actually want to ask you something about here, because we are going to see, later this year, several Filipino banks that are planning to launch this multi-bank peso stablecoin. That's different than what we've seen in the past, like you're talking about. It's no longer a one-trick pony, right? It's something that is a little bit larger than that, and that's PHPX, which will initially operate in the Hedera DLT network. Let me talk about you just for a second, what your part is in all this, because your startup, Just Finance, is the initiator. Can you share a little bit more about what role you play in all this?
Well, we're the platform and technology provider, right? So if you think about it from a legal perspective, the bank is the issuer. However, when it comes to the full stack solution, so when it comes to the wallet, the contracts, the metadata, the events, the integrations into core banking, messaging services, etc., right? All of that needs to be taken care of consistently, and it is consistent across every single one of the banks, right? So again, we needed a network, so that it's a consortium of banks that subscribe to the same rules, right? In terms of, I will give you a live feed, I will have X percentage of backing, and we will again subscribe to a specific instrument format, etc. Right? So there's two parts of that. There's a network of banks. They're not small banks. They're large commercial banks. They're also rural banks who are smaller, but then they have a specific place in terms of serving rural and regional communities. And what else would I mention? Yeah, and pairings, right? So not only do you have to have multiple, I would say, commercial/institutional users who all have their own risk requirements, compliance, regulatory requirements, and they're all saying, okay, this is the boundaries of which we're going to issue our money on chain. This is what the capital, what the backing will be, and then also the pairings out. So you heard it here, folks. There will be specific corridors, even though it's the Philippines is where it's originating, because that's the currency that we're mirroring on chain. And yes, we're committed to Hedera, and we'll, I suppose, one of the further questions are going to be, why did you choose Hedera, etc. And we'll talk about that. But yeah, the alpha here is that there will be some very key corridors in Asia, right, where it will be a bank or a large institution that will be sending money specifically between a North Asian corridor and the Philippines. Yep.
Got it. So it's more than just a stablecoin. We're talking about cross-border payments here as well, which I think is a huge thing. Ed, with your permission, I'm just going to assume you said yes. I need to talk to David for like an hour or two and just do like a full-out interview, because there's so much to unpack here, and I definitely want to hit all the points. So David, this is not the final time we're talking. I definitely want to get a little bit more out of you. What does it look like, right? Like, I know they were talking about cross-border payments, getting things to the next level. Give me that Hedera, the why behind Hedera, because you could have built on a bunch of different platforms. Why did you use Hedera's DLT to make this thing happen?
Well, everyone talks about remittance and everyone builds for remittance. We're not B2C. I would say we're B2B2C. There are other applications. I think of stablecoin as a primitive. It's not just a product, right? It's a building block that enables multiple things, right? And that'll give rise to why Hedera. But there's treasury management, right? Which is boring but super important, right? The average person isn't going to know about that, right? There's treasury management. There's B2B outbound payments for trade. So again, there are not lots of little payments. There are fewer larger payments, right? And those have their own AML, KYC, other requirements. Again, everyone talks about orchestration, but there's a lot of hard stuff that's being solved for in terms of on-ramping, off-ramping, and things in the public-private. My daughter just spoke up. So
At 4 a.m.
things in terms 3 a.m.
Oh boy.
No. So where was I again?
You're talking about how
Apologies.
awesome building on Hedera DOT is.
Yeah, so there's large B2B outbound payments, but there will also be domestic low value payments. So everyone, not everyone, but whether you're a regulator, you're a bank, you're a payment service provider, one of the big things that everyone talks about is the singleness of money. So, okay, if you only think about, oh, I want to send little parcels of money, $100, $50, etc. Okay, that's fine. But then we obviously chose Hedera because of the ecosystem, the brand name. And there's a couple things. Regulatory, it's about the council. So if you think about who makes up the governing council that's validating and protecting the network, right? It's multi-sector, right? And not just anyone, and this is a good thing, not just anyone can stake a bunch of ETH and then become a validator, right? So it's a permissioned public network. So I think especially from an enterprise perspective, you can think all you want about you can have your opinion, or people can have their own opinion in terms of, okay, if I'm specifically DeFi focused and I'm a retail user, or I'm liquidity looping and I'm have leverage, etc. That's fine, but that's not what a bank or what a central bank really cares about, right? So who's on the network? So number one, governing council, but then there are things that we all know about. So regulatory, right? Why Hedera is it's a permission public network, so not just anyone can hop on. Now that has really important implications from capital adequacy and weightings, risk weightings and classifications, right? There's a thing called Group 1A, Group 1B, and Group 2 stablecoins. And we wanted to ensure that we're compliant so that we have the lowest risk rating, right? So that banks can hold them on their balance sheets, right? So there's the regulatory aspect. There's performance, obviously, and then there's cost. Performance and cost we all know about, but we made a conscious choice on the regulatory side that it doesn't blow out the balance sheet, and risk compliance doesn't have a heart attack, right? Because the risk weighting in which they have to actually account for the instrument as part of their capital mix, has blown out the way that they need to do their accounting. So it was a very conscious choice. And look, there are other networks that are doing great stuff, right? I mean, you see what Canton is doing, right? You see what Avalanche has private subnets, Base in terms of retail utilization, right? But we made a conscious choice, and we will be on multiple chains as well. But our core will be on Hedera, is and remains on Hedera.
All right, I got to ask the question that everybody wants to know, and this is the most common question in crypto. When?
The simple answer is after Sandbox, but that doesn't stop us. Like, retail can use it, but remember, we're doing, larger wholesale applications and then proving up to the central bank. So again, I'll use a cheap saying to try to distill down our position. And we're going to be here for a long time, not just a good time, right? So every single of these regulated banks have their licenses, and the reason they have their licenses and aren't sanctioned or aren't censured by a central bank is because they're compliant, right? As such, we're going through the sandbox, and once the metrics that we put forward in terms of availability, uptime, the maintenance of collateral, that things are working, that multiple banks are live, that we have live attestation, that we can swap in between them, swap between other pairings, and that we can swap between overseas banks, then we will release it into Sandbox, right? So again, there is a competitor type product that's geared at retail. That's for a crypto exchange, right? You should see the 130-page type PhD dissertation we wrote to the central bank, right? In terms of regulation, design, policies, etc. Right? So long story short, it's not that easy around. I mean, try it, go for it, right? Try it. You'll see. Not you specifically, but everyone's like, how soon?
I thought that was a challenge. I was going to try it.
No, when when the sandbox is successfully completed and we have achieved the things that we're going to say that we do by the central bank in partnership with our commercial partners, that's when, right? So it's more than a retail, it's again, think of it as a primitive. It's a foundational building block to achieve something. That's trade payments, that's large B2B payments, that's treasury, and then that will eventually flow down to, as again, a settlement instrument for domestic low-value payments that don't run on traditional rails. Yeah.
No, that's incredible.
So
that totally
when the
makes
sandbox,
sense.
when the central bank says we can.
No, and that's the important thing, right? Like you're actually focusing on where the real money is actually flowing in and out of. A lot of times people will just focus on what's happening between smaller parties, like you're saying, like you're actually doing the hard work to make sure that this thing is happening at a much larger scale. Thank you for that, David. And I'm going to make sure that, like I said, we definitely got to follow up. I want to go through the details with you because there's plenty of people out there that not only care about this, but want to know how to get involved. Because I'll tell you, like the incredible amount of people that I've heard listening to the shows that we put on, the things that we talk about here in this ecosystem, because they want to take part in it. They want to, like, even traveling around the world, people actually do care a whole ton about what's happening in, on Hedera's DLT to see, okay, do I jump on there as well? So I appreciate you taking that leap and, making it happen and, doing all the legwork. Like you said, 120-page dissertation is, it's not fun. I'll just say it. It's not fun.
And that's not even complete. There's going to be more, right? So yeah, if you're a central bank, if you're a commercial bank, if you're cross-border, we made a conscious effort in choosing Hedera. Call me.
I love it. I love it. You're awesome, David. Yeah, we definitely want to be able to get on a call later on, so I can go over all of the details. Again, you can go ahead and take care of your daughter, man. Like, I believe me, love Hedera, love the Hedera ecosystem. I will definitely put my kids over Hedera. I appreciate you, and like I said, we'll definitely follow up. Ed, let's keep the conversation going when it comes to tokenization here, because this is, stablecoins are a type of token. It is tokenizing, quote unquote, real fiat money over there. So with RWAs, the tokenization and the Asset Tokenization Studio that you have built on there, like that thing is freaking amazing. It's really opening up possibilities for people to do things that they haven't been able to do before. How is it working with it for you? On a personal level, is it helpful? Does it confuse people more than it should?
No, absolutely not. I think if anything, it accelerates that flow of tokenizing those real world assets that people may want to represent on chain, right? And so, later on, we'll pass it on to Alejandro, because who better to explain all the value props and the advantages that Asset Tokenization Studio provides than someone who came from the actual builders that constructed the thing. But I think it's working well, right? In fact, we're seeing a lot of interest more recently, and I wouldn't say confusion. People naturally have questions like, what kind of standards does it support? The answer to that is, on Hedera, you can support any ERC standard that is supported on Ethereum, right? We use the same EVM. People want to know what are the components that come with Asset Tokenization Studio. So you do have a UI, an SDK, and audited smart contracts and more, but we'll get into that. And then, yeah, be curious to hear also from Alejandro later on in more details, but I think it's working well.
I will say, Manu, if you want to throw wrenches in this whole thing and jump in and say something that you're not supposed to, feel free. Okay. Right. But Alejandro, let's go to you, because the Hedera Asset Tokenization Studio makes it simple to tokenize assets on Hedera's network. That there's no question about that. So the goal is to simplify tokenization for individuals, for companies. Like, what was the main goal behind it? And if you don't mind me asking even a little bit deeper, where did this idea actually come from to create this kind of toolkit?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is mainly focused, I would say, on institutional customers, if you will, that want to create tokenize financial assets as of now, right? The scope will be expanded in the future, but what it mainly its main focus right now is creating tokenized bonds and stocks, right? And everything around the management and configuration and of these two particular taxonomies, right? And where did the idea came from? Well, actually from a specific use case, right? A specific application that was a client of Hedera, a partner of Hedera, which is Red Swan, right? And they have a particular use case in the context of real estate and commercial real estate, right? And when you analyze that use case, you will find like many requirements that are needed to create these tokenized assets that could be applicable to other use cases too, right? And the Asset Tokenization Studio is basically getting all that reusable or repetitive part, right? And shipping it in a way that can be leveraged by others that are in a similar situation than Red Swan, right? And that's how you get this accelerated time to market. Hopefully, when you use the Asset Tokenization Studio, right? And those features I was mentioning before, right, are basically what has to do with the specific taxonomy, which is what makes a bond. For example, what data, what functions, what operations, life cycle, regulation, controls, right, and enforcement. What that makes a bond, what makes a stock, and all of that is the scope of the Asset Tokenization Studio, right? And in terms of deliverables of the component of the Asset Tokenization Studio, right, all of that can be reused at several levels, right? First level is the smart contracts that are, as Ed was saying, this are fully EV compatible, right? And Solidity actually in particular. And then on top of that, there is an SDK to facilitate the interaction, deployment, etc. with those smart contracts. And then there is this UI, mostly I would say to showcase how to use the Asset Tokenization Studio, but also of course be leveraged in a productive application if you want to reuse some of the parts of it. And yeah, I will say I hope that answers Action.
Yeah, no, that absolutely covers a lot of it. Ed, let me get your take on something here. Like when you say tokenizing RWAs, right? What are these use cases that you might see? Because something I've heard is that you are essentially the tokenized version of Hugh Jackman on Hedera.
I wish, but that's not quite the case just yet. Now, when we think about use cases, I love to think real estate. I love to think art, collectibles, and luxury goods. But let's maybe take a step back and think about what that term of tokenizing means. I alluded to it earlier on, right? But tokenization is just representing an asset on chain, right? Bringing that to a distributed ledger so you can have better traceability or maybe benefit from things like fractional ownership or increased liquidity for that asset. And so if we think about those 2 points of fractional ownership and increased liquidity, those are very beneficial for real estate, right? Because now if you want to participate as an owner, you don't have to own millions to own real estate. You can, participate with fractional shares, say to a commercial building or something like that. And then there's also the liquidity of the asset. As you know, buildings are non-fungible, and then not everybody can afford to buy an entire building. And so by having that fractional ownership and being able to welcome anyone who owns the token or who can own the token, now you increase the liquidity and accessibility for that asset, as the investment opportunity provider. And then there's also the ability to automate certain aspects of the management, right? So you can think about automated cash flows, because if, say, you have an obligation to make some payments to your token holders, you can automate that by being on a distributed ledger like Hedera. And that still blows my mind, because that is the value that this technology of distributed ledgers and Web3 provides, that we're fusing information exchange with value, right? Like the money and the value is baked into that information flow. And so, it really simplifies operations when it comes to management of those assets. And then there's also the ability to have more transparent records, right? By having things on chain, you can trace things like the ownership, the maintenance records, if you want to take care of that with a building. But in any case, in real estate, that is the type of tokenization that Red Swan is doing for commercial buildings and so on. There's also, I think I mentioned art, collectibles, luxury goods. I think all those points of fractional ownership, increased liquidity and accessibility, all of those apply. And then here, I think the traceability is extremely important, because now you want to be able to guarantee the authenticity of that piece, of that luxury watch or that fine bottle of wine that you're commercializing here. And so that's the type of tokenization that Diamond Standard is doing in this particular vertical. And we can extrapolate that to other areas. There's also commodities and natural resources. So you can tokenize gold, you can tokenize silver, even carbon offsets and carbon credits. And we know that with the Hedera Guardian, that's a totally separate topic. But with the Guardian, you have a very powerful workflow policy engine to tokenize those carbon assets and participate in green finance. So yeah, overall, I think you can see a very healthy variety of use cases. And then Hedera is a very good platform to build these use cases for multiple reasons, right? There's the good old cost, performance, and finality benefits. I'm not going to get into that because we were all very familiar with that, and it's 2025. But the other benefits, I think David mentioned those before, which are the compliance features that come with, say, the token service on Hedera, or even the ability to adopt EVM's ERC standards on Hedera's EVM. And there's also the robust governance, right? So if governance is something that matters to you, to your use case and application, then Hedera also provides a very unique solution with its governance structure. David mentioned that it's a public permission network. So public meaning anyone can build on it. You don't have to ask for permission. And then permission is the fact that only the council is operating those nodes, the consensus nodes today. And the community can operate other types of nodes as well. And so again, Hedera, I think, provides a very strong foundation to build these type of tokenization use cases.
No, I completely agree. And it's so funny, like you're mentioning Red Swan. It's been really exciting to see all the growth. Like I remember being in spaces with Ed well over a year ago, just kind of breaking down what tokenization meant and just helping people understand what this was all about. We're definitely at a new frontier, I guess you can say, where we've come so far to where it's not only these huge players that can kind of tokenize. You're making it available for a lot of people. And actually, this brings me to a question for you, Alejandro, because the Asset Tokenization Studio it's a joint effort. It's not just something that one person came up with. It's Hashgraph, it's HBAR Foundation, it's Red Swan, and you guys, ioBuilders. What's your role in all of this?
Yeah, so I would say mostly three different things. On the one hand, we help with the defining what should be a priority, right, for the Asset Tokenization Studio. Of course, we are not the only ones, as you were mentioning in that conversation, right? Well, we support that conversation, leveraging like our experience in the field, our observations on trends, etc. What our own clients ask, to us of what they are demanding to us. So all of that we help. We use to help shape what should be included in the Asset Tokenization Studio and why, right? So I would say that's the first thing. Then, of course, we as of now we lead the actual development and roadmap execution in general. So as a tech firm, we put all the software development capabilities related to smart contract, the SDKs. Of course, the Hashgraph team is also there, doing an amazing job with all the CI/CDs, managing all the security stuff, right? Which is a great thing to have also in such a critical scope for this application, right? In talking about tokenized securities, and also in terms of that roadmap, we also help with some efforts on the market outreach, marketing, spreading the word a little bit alongside the HBAR Foundation, alongside Hashgraph too. And last but not least, we help other companies that want to leverage the Asset Tokenization Studio for their solutions. So we provide, for example, I would say advisory, and if they have any technical question or need some support with a specific a feature or etc. And of course, if they need some development muscle, we can also help there, right? So those three things. Right.
I love it. I also do advisory and do support people. Like if you guys ever need somebody to tap you in the back and go, good job, keep it going, I'm here for you. But talk to me about features, man, because there's a lot of things that are going on chain that people have not done in the past, and they're kind of important. I'm talking things like not only whitelisting, but KYC, and biggest of all, regulatory compliance right on chain. Like, what are the benefits of keeping these things all on chain?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I would say, you need those features to actually, show the regulator, show, financial entities that you are considering the how the actual tokenized security should work. They are part of all these considerations in terms of regulatory requirements, enforcing allow listing, block listing, etc. Forcing operations, forcing a transfer from one account to a treasury or to a supervisor, to a regulator account. All of that are part, by definition, right, of what is the security, and you need that, right, to actually unlock. You need that on chain. I mean, to unlock all the benefits that actually Ed was mentioning before, of tokenizing securities and on using DLT, right? So think about programmability, right? Composability, the ability to automate operations 24/7. You can one of the main requirements to do that is to enable the on-chain business logic, so the smart contract, to do all the checks, right, and all the and the verifications to proceed with any operation, right? So, for example, if it is 3 a.m., right, and there is like in Australia, right, there is someone that wants to trade a bond, right, etc. And you can only do that without an open market like it is in a traditional world, let's say. If the smart contract that is managing that and the system that is managing that is able to check that, for example, that person is authorized, is an accredited investor, right? Because there is some data out, right there, which that allows this kind of checks, right? And yeah, so if you don't do it on chain, you will have to do it off chain somehow. And the moment you try to do things off chain, you are back again on the traditional, let's say, rails, right? So yeah, long story short, they are a must, right? Considering these requirements, the regulatory requirements to unlock all the benefits of the DLT when it comes to tokenized digital asset tokenized securities, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it definitely makes a big difference. Ed, what about for you? Like, what does this actually mean for developers? Are we talking about, less work on their end? Are we talking about just, the ability to leverage pre-audited SDKs and, open source UI? Like, what does this actually translate into for a dev that sits down and goes, all right, I'm going to build on Hedera?
Yeah, I love that point because it translates into a smoother experience for that dev, right? I think Alejandro did a fantastic job highlighting the components, the functionality, and the features. But if we connect that to the value props of the Asset Tokenization Studio, it translates into faster time to onboard and to complete your project, right? If you think about that UI that Alejandro mentioned, that UI gives you that easy starting point so that you can use those built-in wallet integrations and start testing and start developing with little friction. And whether it's for testing or even if you want to leverage that in production, you have that available. There's also the benefit of lower risk, because if you think about the pre-audited SDK and the audited smart contracts, those are components that a third party looked at in depth. They give a thumbs up, that these are secure and robust components that align with best practices, and those are available to you out of the box with with the Asset Tokenization Studio. Now, I will say those components, they're not a warranty policy, right? You still have to know what you're doing to build an application and a project that is going to be safe and robust. But it just puts you in a much stronger position when you're using those high quality components that make that process easier. And then there's also the benefit of extensibility and customization, right? Because all of those components, from the UI, the TypeScript SDK, to the contracts, it's all open source. So you can take it, extend it, and customize it to the needs of your project and your application. So all around, it's a better experience, and asset tokenization is a really, really robust platform for tokenizing your assets.
All right, let me ask you the hard question here, Alejandro, just because you're neck deep in this thing. How do you think this asset tokenization studio can actually support, let's say, financial institutions, regulators, and even banks, around the globe wanting to tap into the benefits of tokenization, because it's been a little bit out of reach for most people that don't have the expertise in it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, to put it on one phrase, I would say is the main benefit is accelerating time to market, right? For the tokenization of digital securities, right? And also, trying to minimize, or using a foundation that takes risks and regulation, into account, right? So, if we break down that, I see three parts to that, right? So on the one hand, any institution, regulator, right, that want to explore a little bit more, right, how does tokenization can work, particularly in the Hedera network and in general, right? What's the life cycle of these tokenized bonds and stock, etc. So start getting into that work. The Asset Tokenization Studio can help there, right? There is the UI, it is well documented, it's open source, as I was saying, right? So it is a very intuitive tool, I would say, to start working on or start deep diving on the tokenization domain. On the other hand, right, when it comes to implementation, actual productive solutions, right? The Asset Tokenization Studio is the code is audited, right? So my contract audited. It's battle tested, is being used in production, right? It's CVM compatible, so there is basically it's based on Solidity smart contract. So all the tooling that you would use for EVM, right? You can use that. So there is no barrier on that end. Then also it is easily, it's designed to be easily extensible, and also to allow easy customization, right? It's in terms of architecture, right? In terms of how the SDK and the smart contracts are designed, right? It's been done with that in mind, right? So people can use it and customize it, extend it, right? And in particular, when it comes to development, our estimate is that by using the Asset Tokenization Studio, you could save probably between 2 or 3 months of 5-6 people working, full time. So if you translate that to cost, so it depends, of course, on the rates, but we'll be talking about probably, in the order of $100 to $200K. It depends, of course, on the rates. But yeah, that's the second thing, right? So accelerating and saving time and money, right? On the implementation side. And last but not least, the Asset Tokenization Studio is I would say it's not only a tool, but it's kind of an ecosystem, right? Because when you go to the open source code, right, you will see there. First of all, there is an amazing company leading off behind of which is Hashgraph. There is also the tech team on ioBuilders that can help companies, right? So it's not that you are alone when you are going to want to deep dive into Asset Tokenization Studio, right? You have the support there, right? And that's it. Those three things, I would say.
All right, let me get Manu here in the conversation, just because I know you have a beautiful face that's just been sitting there for a little while. But I want to talk about what you've been building as well, man, with when it comes to the Kabila platform and how I never got whitelisted for that origin mint and lots of things in between. Sorry, I had to bring that up. I was stuck in Dubai. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I can't mint this thing.
I miss that one. I miss that one as well.
It's okay. Well, you have a good reason to miss it, but tell me about the platform itself, because it's more than just an NFT hub. Like it's an all-in-one thing, right? It does a lot. Can you just let's see how fast you can do this? Can you break down what Kabila actually is?
Yeah. So the idea at the beginning, it wasn't to create those many products, but the thing is that, if you look at the creator journey, when they start creating the NFTs, the first thing they need is a wallet. The first thing they need to do is, get some funds to start, using other tools. So then in those tools, we needed tools for creating the NFT collection, for minting the NFTs. We also have an art engine to, create the NFT metadata that they're going to be using. We have, bulk sender tools, frictionless airdrops. So we started adding more tools when we were, seeing the needs of those creators. Then once you have created your collection, you want to sell it. So, we work a lot. Probably the Launchpad, it's the first self-service Launchpad on there. So we wanted to make it very easy, like a Shopify for NFTs, where you can just go, set up your collection, select the NFTs that you want to put for sale, define the different private stages, the pricing, the discounts, and then boom, you have your panel. You can control, you can stop, you can edit everything without having to, write any line of code. So once that you have the Launchpad live, then you have the secondary market where people can start buying and selling your NFTs. And finally, you have which was our last product, and to us, it's going to be one of the important ones as well, which is plazas. When you have created your NFT collection or your tokenized community, where you have a community that share an NFT, there's a lot of people sharing NFTs from the same collection. That's a tokenized community, and I will explain why that's important and the benefits of tokenizing your community. But then you gotta have that place. So we've been using very different platforms: Telegram, Discord, different platforms where we're fragmenting the experience. So what we wanted to do at Kabila is take all those different parts and make the journey of those creators and their fans a lot easier. If not, it's going to be very, very hard to onboard Web2 people. So that's what we do at Kabila. Everything to create, launch, and manage tokenized communities. So we help the creators, and then we make it easy for their fans, to buy, to trade, and then to connect with those creators.
This is going to be fun then. So talking about those creators, let's talk about monetization here, because Kabila allows creators to essentially own and monetize those assets. Why do you think there's a need to move away from centralized, platforms, creator platforms like your YouTubes of the world, your Instagrams, your TikToks? Not that I don't have experience getting canceled 3 times for my YouTube channel or anything like that, but what's your take on it?
So you know what this is about. Like, for the past 20 years, I would say we've been building or one of the most important assets, which is our community in some of this platform. Like, it's not our community, it. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of energy that you put in creating your most important asset. For more than 85% of business, they rely on their online communities. So if you don't own that, then you have a problem. And I don't think we actually see the problem, how big that problem is. Like, because we have that, what you mentioned, what happens if someday, you get your account canceled, or it's okay, now you can do anything. But I think there are even worse things than that, which is if you don't own anything, you can monetize that. Like, if you don't own your community, you're not going to be monetizing the value. And that's a lot of value there. We see a very tiny part, but there is a lot more value than we think. So I don't know, actually, if I can share the screen very quick, because there is one,
cause havoc. Go for it. Go ahead and share your screen. I'll get it up.
I'll describe it very briefly as well. But the idea is that in the centralized Web2 platforms, we have the creator or the owner of that community that it's creating value, probably in form of content. That value goes to a centralized platform, and that value, stays, reaches a community, but then the value of the money, when it goes back, it never reaches you as a creator. That's what we have right now. So what is changing with, the Web3 model? Right now, if you see, the community is now going to the other side. How is that done? And we love NFTs. We think NFTs will be very, very powerful. I know it's been a lot of hate and there's been a lot of arguments about NFTs, but we see NFTs as an amazing tool. And why is that? In this case, is that a creator can launch an NFT collection, and those are digital certificates that say, hey, I am the owner of this collection because I own the account that created these NFTs, these certificates, and whoever holds one of those NFTs, that's going to be my follower. That's my holder or follower. No, so now it's not a centralized platform that it's keeping that relationship. It's the blockchain. It's Hashgraph. It's a public layer beneath everything that now holds that very important connection with your audience, with your community. So the moment you own that community, the moment you own that relationship, then you can. There's a lot of things you're gonna be doing, but you are now the important actor in this business. That's why in Web2 platforms, it's normal to see 90-95% commission rates. Whether when you are working Web3, the commission rates are the opposite. It's 2-3%, 5%. So I think that's what we're doing. That's there's other companies working on these, and I think this is going to accelerate a lot, because the problem that we had till now is that we lack infrastructure. We had the tokens and the NFTs, and we needed a lot more tools, to do interesting stuff with the NFTs. So yeah, that's for it.
You make it sound like, oh yeah, it's so simple, guys. No, this is like how it should have been from the get-go. Like people actually owning assets. Like this brings me back to like World of Warcraft days, where I never owned my assets and I got my eBay accounts canceled for selling gold. We need to get away from that, right? Like people actually need to own the things that they are claimed that they actually own. Like this is the exciting part for me when it comes, to building on real DLTs that actually keep track of this stuff. But talking about building, let's talk, Hedera Contract Builder, because I know, Ed, you've been intensely looking at the screen. I'm guessing it wasn't at my pretty face. You might have been doing something in the background there, right?
No, I was intensely looking at your face and Manu's face. I mean, this conversation is as engaging as it gets.
Don't leave
and Alejandro,
out
of course.
All right, talk to me here. Like, this thing just launched. Is it just another tool? Like, what does it look like? I know it's in collaboration with Kabila. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so the Devro team at Hashgraph is dedicated to building outstanding tools to make that developer experience and that developer onboarding as easy as it can be. And what would be easier than starting to try out the SDKs and smart contracts on your browser, right? And so that was the motivation for building these two, what I like to call these two playgrounds for devs. So we have the developer playground that focuses on the SDK that has been available since January this year. And then last week, in collaboration with Kabila, we also launched that Hedera Contract Builder, so that people can just learn smart contracts from a web browser. You don't have to do a complicated setup. You don't have to study Solidity for hours to be able to deploy your first contract successfully. All you do is you just go to hedera.com/contract builder. You click around, and then you'll learn through that clicking process. And then I think within a matter of minutes, you should be able to have your first contract deployed on the network. So just to recap, it's a browser-based tool that allows you to edit, deploy, verify, and interact with your smart contracts, all without installing a single thing. All you need is just a web browser and internet. And of course, your Hedera testnet account. And yeah, the idea is there that we accelerate not only the onboarding for a new dev that is coming into this paradigm of smart contracts and Solidity, but we also accelerate the prototyping and the ideation that an existing Web3 developer would do, because rather than going to Hardhat and spinning up my new Hardhat project and try to write my contract and deploy it and so on, I can just come here, click a few boxes, try my idea very quickly, and then iterate, and then I can take that to my lab or my production application much more easily. So I'm gonna also cause chaos here. I'm gonna share my screen just to give you a very, very quick taste of what the contract builder looks like. So,
Love it.
all right. So the way it looks is this is my web browser. So if you just go to hedera.com/contract builder, you'll end up in this interface. You see that we have different templates that you can use, and it's standards that you can use to deploy your first contract. This is all embedded in what we call the Hedera developer portal. So, I have my testnet account credentials right here. I don't have to worry about, what wallet am I going to use and what keys. All of that is automatically taken care of, so you can deploy very easily on the Hedera testnet. And so, yeah, just to show you how easy it is to create a contract, I can come here using the Hedera token service system contract. I can click a few functions, and those are added to my Solidity file there. I can do, I can choose the options or the functions that I want as part of my contract, and then I can start all over. I can share that. I can download this code and take it to my own application. Now, and compilation happens right on the browser, so it's just very quickly. There we go. There's my contract. I can verify it right before deploying it. And then, as I was saying, this deployment should go through in just a matter of seconds. So I'm not going to run this whole thing and not going to go through this entire workflow because we're short on time. But what I will do is I'm going to do a more in-depth demo of this on Thursday this week. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that technical community call that is going to happen on Thursday, and we'll talk about the contract builder in more depth.
Well, I think this is the perfect, let me find the right one. There you go. I think this is a perfect opportunity to remind everybody, if you are not following socials for Hedera, this is the perfect time for you to do so, because this is, yes, one of the things that we kind of stream. We talk about projects and updates on the network, but there's so much that goes on. Ed goes on this thing all the time and make sure that people are learning about what's happening in this ecosystem. So it's pretty important. But Ed, you got the stage. Where can people find more about this tool?
Yeah, if you just Google Hedera Contract Builder, that will give you the documentation and the announcement article that came with it. All of those will have links to the platform itself. If you just want to jump right into it, hedera.com/contract builder is the place to go. And then, I really want to mention our great documentation. So Hedera documentation, if you just Google that, that's a great starting point, not only for these playgrounds and contract builders, but also for anything else that are related that you might want to study as a developer.
All right. I will say one other thing. There have been some questions that have come through that I would love to put you guys on the hot seat and maybe, share on screen and see what you guys are thinking about this. Can we do that?
Let's do it. I heard hot seat though. I'm starting to hear a lot of interference. I might drop from the call.
Is it static? Is that what's going on? It's a little bit of static there.
Nah, we're good. Let's take the hard questions.
All right. So here's the hardest question that I've seen so far. I don't understand something about Hedera. If they have so many good partnerships, why do they have close to 0 TPS on mainnet?
That is a great question. I like to look at the TPS number through 3 lenses, right? Because I don't like to take that number at face value. One transaction could be a very valuable transaction that represents, I don't know, $1 billion being tokenized on Hedera, right? So if you have 2 transactions, each one of those tokenized on $1 billion, I would take that any day over 1,000 transactions per second. The other lens that I like to apply is with Hedera, you have different services. You have the consensus service, the tokenization service, and you have smart contracts. There are a few other transaction types that relate to accounts in crypto, but I would say you have to take into account that as well, because I could, do a lot of transactions with the consensus service, submitting messages, and that reflects very high as a single number, but what is the value that it really adds to the network? And I think that's, another dimension that you have to look at. And so I think last time I checked, we were close to 10 transactions per second, which, is not the 2,000 or 3,000 that we were doing months ago, but it's also not 0, right? And I would love to know what exactly those transactions are. In fact, you can, if you look at our mirror node or an explorer like Hashcan, that'll tell you what are the use cases that are active at any given moment. But the other thing that I'll say is, not all of these valuable use cases in partnership are pushing transactions every second, every day, right? I think, the time of operation might vary, and that's why you see spikes. If you were to graph out the transactions per second over time, it's not a flat line. It's, you know, it's going to vary over time. So at least that's my take. That's why I sleep well at night, knowing that, you know, one day we might see 2 transactions per second, another day we might see 100, 200, and another day we might see 10 or so.
So it's not necessarily the number of transactions, but what those transactions actually are. That's a great point. I mean, we just heard from David talking about, yeah, sure, people have these stablecoin things, but we're talking about large batch transactions, not in the, you know, in the hundreds, but, you know, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Really, it's when these guys are actually transacting. And that would simply be one transaction, right? Like, just because it's a whole lot of money, it doesn't mean that it's, you know, a bunch of transactions. It can be done in a very, very short amount of transactions, essentially.
Exactly.
All right, so we did have another one come through LinkedIn, which was pretty good. So when we talk about Hedera, do we talk about smart contracts concepts as well? If yes, regarding the audits and security of these smart contracts, what do you guys, or what kind of tools do you work with? How to make sure stuff is secure?
I would pass this one to Alejandro, if that's all good with you.
Absolutely. So yes, indeed. I mean, Hedera is EVM compatible. So in terms of tools, so virtually any tool that you can think or use for I don't know, Ethereum mainnet or any layer 2 in Ethereum, you could use that for Hedera too. So Hard Hat Foundry, you name it, right? In terms of audits, is the same procedure, right? The same partners and vendors, I don't know, Hardborn, Certic, all these companies are also present in the ecosystem, and many more, right? And in particular, the Asset Tokenization Studio was audited too, right? Other tools like the toolkit, like the Stablecoin Studio, also, right? And yeah, so you know, more specifically in terms of tools for development, as I was saying, Hard Hat Foundry, and you know, libraries like OpenZeppelin, standard stuff, right? Is at the end of the day is CVM, right? So yeah, I think that covers all. Yeah, hopefully that answers.
Yeah, no. All right. So by the way, I have to give props to the guys in the back. So we have Furman and Luis that are always doing some incredible things in the background, highlighting messages, and they don't get screen time like they should, because they are workhorses that just make sure things are running in the background. They highlighted another message here. That's awesome. Is there a playground? What's the link? How do you get to that little playground that you were just showing us, Ed?
All right. If we do hedera.com/contract builder, contract-builder, or just Google it. I mean, it's going to be the first option that you'll find. And there is also the link right on the screen. I want to take a step back and give a little bit of context about the 2 playgrounds that we had, because I realized I went into a playground and contract builder. But what I'll say is, if you are a developer on Hedera, you have approaches that will align with your needs and your expertise, right? We're not trying to force you down the smart contract path or, you know, some other path. The idea is that you can choose the tools that are going to work best for you and what you know. So what I mean by that is, we have SDKs for Java, JavaScript, Go, and a few other languages that, if you already know those languages, you already know Web3. You can tokenize, you can create decentralized messaging pipelines, and so on. And so that is the idea, that for Web2 developers, or, you know, more traditional devs, it's very easy to jump in and use these Web3 components with just classes and SDKs that you already know how to work with. Now, if you want to jump into this paradigm of smart contracts and Solidity and the EVM, that path is also available for you, so that you can bring that innovation that you see in other networks like Ethereum. Or if you don't like it here, you can always take your solution that you built and go to another EVM network. But, you know, we give you that flexibility and those different approaches so you can build the best possible solution on Hedera.
I love that. Something that I really like doing that I haven't done for you guys yet is doing a little bit of a giveaway, just because I always get stuff. People give me things and I never give, you know, anything to the HBAR community. I am trying to open really quick so I don't miss this. Anybody wants to drop their wallet address on the chat, doesn't matter what chat it is, I will find it the first one that comes through. I'm gonna send you a little something. Let's just say that although I didn't get to mint the Origin NFT, I may have picked up a few. So I just want to send y'all something. So drop your, HBAR address so I can send something nice to you. And Manu said that he's going to match it if you're using the Kabila wallet. I'm totally joking. I made that up.
I have some. I'm at some NFTs there. Like, yeah, there is plenty of NFTs in my wallet.
I love it. I love that. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I love being able to give back to people that actually not only pay attention but support this ecosystem. We had somebody jump on the chat and ask, like, oh, hey, I have a bunch of followers. How do I go ahead and actually become a content creator for Hedera? Just do it. I don't know how else to say it. Like, just do it. Like, what's stopping you from, highlighting a platform that not only works well, but, is definitely supportive of everybody that's building on it. So, Aiden, I appreciate you dropping that wallet. I've already grabbed it. You were the first one to drop it in. So I'll make sure to send you one of those Origin NFTs that I may or may not be buying a bunch more right now. Yeah. Just want to take care of good people in the space, make sure that you guys are staying engaged. That's the other thing. Like, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but like I have an okay sized YouTube channel and it hasn't gotten much love in the past. But the way I grew that YouTube channel was really doing this, like letting people know, hey, do you care about this stuff? Well, show up. If you show up, I'll reward you. Like, people, anytime you're in the limelight in crypto, people are going to give you stuff. And I don't need all of it. So if I can give it back, hey, happy day. That's what I want to do. And I feel like that's what happens a lot in the, in the HBAR ecosystem. People are just like, hey, do you need something? Ooh, you don't have enough to transact. That's literally what happened at HederaCon. I had somebody literally give me, HBAR tokens, like, oh, you don't have it in that wallet? Here, let me send it to you. People are so willing to help each other out in this ecosystem. And I really do love it. All right, Ed, you got to give it to me here. What else is Hedera working on? Announcements, big events. What can people be looking forward to?
Absolutely. Just thinking about this week, it's going to be an action-packed week. So tomorrow, tomorrow and Wednesday, we have 2 demo days for the AI Agents Hackathon that took place over the past few weeks. And so if you want to hear from the best innovators, the best submissions for 2 hours each day and hear their pitch, see what they built, tune into those demo days. So just go to the Hedera account on X, and there you're going to see the information that we're going to use for those streams that will be happening tomorrow and Wednesday this week. And then on Thursday, we also have a technical community call where we're going to discuss Contract Builder. We're going to talk about an upcoming hit, which relates to block streams and block nodes. So if you want to go deep into what those elements are, we'll geek out during that Thursday call. And then, of course, I want to call out one of our folks behind the scenes, Luis, who did a fantastic job rolling out the ambassadors and moderators program. So if you want to learn more about those, again, check out that X account to see more information. But over the next few days, we'll be finalizing the details for that pilot ambassador program. So this is going to be initially focused on the LATAM region and Spain. So yeah, looking forward to rolling out more details about that ambassadors program.
¿Qué puedo hacer con eso?
Podemos hacer mucho. Luis nos dirá más en un evento futuro, but for now, we'll redirect people to the website. So if you do hedera.com/ambassadors, that's where you're going to be able to see all the details of what the role will be able to do and how the community can contribute.
I'm going to make it even more fun. E se você for brasileiro e poder falar português, também tem uma enorme possibilidade de fazer algumas coisas aqui. Então, meu pedido é, começa a falar sobre Hedera que eles estão fazendo aqui. Yeah, go ahead.
Obrigado.
Obrigado. I just had to cover the Portuguese for the Latin America area as well.
That's right.
Beautiful. Any last words from any of you guys? Alejandro, Manu?
I just wanted to, touch on something that Ed mentioned before, which is, if you're a developer, looking into, where do I get started, to get into Web3, into blockchain, into, developing some stuff in this space. We were able to develop so many products in, such a short amount of time because of the Hedera native services. Like, we chose Hedera because of 3 things: the tech, and what comes with that great tech, which is Hashgraph, the governance, which gave us trust, to be putting so much time and money in this journey. And the third one, it was the developer experience. Like, it makes things extremely easy for developers, and that not only means making it easy for you, but it means competitive advantage for your company. It means shorter development times. It means less you can afford developers that are not specialized in Solidity. So I would say that if you're a developer, you should definitely take a look to the developer playground, to the contract builder, to their native services, and you will thank it in a few years. It made things so easy for new developers.
Awesome. Alejandro?
Yeah. So no, my end. Well, first of all, thank you for this time, and I just want to invite anyone out there that wants to build solutions that are related to tokenized assets, particular stocks and bonds, and that need that layer of compliance and regulation, right? I want to invite them to try the Asset Tokenization Studio. It's open source. There is actually a demo website. If you go to the documentation, you will see it, so you can try it, the UI, and we'd love to get your feedback, right? Too, and yeah, so go fun, guys. Go have fun.
Well, my final words is that I feel bad because we did have 5 people send those, wallet addresses pretty quickly. So instead of just sending it over to Aiden, if your name is the following, so let's do this: Passive Income Warriors. If you are Ransom, if you are Rick, if you are H Bear, I'm gonna send it to y'all as well. So have fun, enjoy. Just a little freebie. Make sure you guys feel thanked for hanging out, spending time with us, because this is, to me, one of the things that matters most, is making sure that the community that are supporting devs, especially, not only get rewarded, but feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. So yeah, that's all I have on my end. Ed, can you do me a big favor and just tell people to subscribe? Because I'm going to definitely not clip this for later.
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more and stay up to date with everything happening on the Hedera ecosystem, go and subscribe to our Hedera X account. So just find Hedera on there. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel to be notified about the latest updates and videos coming out. And of course, stay tuned for these recurring spaces that we do with our great friends over at Genzio.
You guys are awesome. Thank you all so much. Definitely not the last time we're going to have this discussion. So make sure you guys are tuned in for the next ones that are coming along. You all have been phenomenal. Always a pleasure to hang out with y'all and have a great time doing so. Here's a little outro from HederaCon, 30 seconds of something you might have missed.